Welcome to my channel. My previous video about coloring books I called Old but Good. When I selected books for this video, I decided that the best name will be Very Old but Still Very Good. And indeed, here I have books which I have almost from the beginning of my hobby. Unfortunately, during this year I hadn't colored them, but I still love this artist, I still love these books. Here, as a first item, we have a very old edition of Coloring Heaven magazine, and here we have pictures by Meredith Dillman. She also has books on Amazon from the same images and also mermaids. But my first acquaintance with this artist was thanks to Coloring Heaven, and I'm quite happy because I absolutely love how she depicts fairies, how she depicts girls. And here we have a little bit of fairies and then girls with Asian vibe, with kimono or with creatures from Japanese legends. What I have colored here, so many beautiful pictures. I look at these pictures and I immediately want to start coloring them. Maybe I need to put it somewhere near my table, and when spring starts I will immediately do these pictures with flowers. I absolutely love her faces. They are really very beautiful, very elegant, and I would say that they have something from Botticelli style, at least for me. So what I have as my finished works, this page where I used neon colors for the background, and I even made video how I masked imperfections of neon colors, because yeah, that's not a bad paper, and I think that in first editions of Coloring Haven paper was even better comparing to recent editions. So it was possible to use water-soluble crayons or even watercolors, but still there were some areas with not very plain coverage, so I sprinkled a little bit with metal pearlescent paint. Some of the areas I covered with pencil, and I have this mistress of butterflies. Here we have those butterflies which start to fly from her kimono into forest probably. I do love the color palette here. Usually I don't do a red background, but here it worked really well as a contrast for her wings and kimono. All these pictures, they are old, but if you still need them, I have a playlist on YouTube. It's called Meredith Dillman Pictures. Here I have my oak fairy. Oh my god, look at this beauty. Oh no, I need to color here. Next, I have this lovely girl which I consider as South Korean. For me, this style of dress, traditional dress, it's more South Korean. Maybe I'm mistaken because I don't have a huge knowledge of all traditional dresses, even if I visited South Korea once. But picture by itself, it's absolutely amazing. So look at this peach blossom. Beautiful flowers, and bird also is very cute. The only area here where I didn't know what to do, it was a big background. When I did it, I didn't want to use soft pastel. I know that usually I am very unlucky with soft pastel backgrounds, so I used the lightest shades of Prismacolor pencils. Well, it's not very interesting, but at least it created very delicate shading around the main image. It's one of my favorites. Here I love contrast between dark background and fairy, especially her hair. Maybe again I exaggerated a little bit with metal paints, because on her wings and around her we have those metals and pearlescent sparkles. But if you can't add pearlescent color to the wing of fairy, where to use them? So I decided that I can justify using them here and a little bit on her hair, so she's quite shiny. And yeah, here is my kitsune picture. Well, I think that it's not bad, even if here I was very unhappy how I did water. Actually, it doesn't look like water at all, even if I tried to do those reflections. And I also didn't like how I blended on her kimono. But the rest, especially this marble tree with red leaves, I do love. So it's not my best work, but still, oh my god. Thanks to this video that it reminded me how beautiful are pictures here. I don't know about quality on her Amazon book, probably they are on Amazon paper, but her designs are so beautiful. If you could purchase them on Etsy or on Amazon, you definitely need to add Meredith Tillman to your collection. They are easy to color and they are very elegant. And everything is nice. People, animals, birds and botanical elements. Next I have this Steampunk Designs book by Martin Noble. Martin Noble is one of my favorite artists, even if I colored her much more frequently in the beginning of my hobby. Now, not so much. Not because I don't like her pictures, maybe that's because her books which were printed 5 years ago, they were much more interesting comparing to the recent books created by Creative Heaven. I would say that all recent books by Creative Heaven, they are not inspiring. They started to do much more simplified designs, many color by numbers, so for me totally not inspiring. But their old books, including these books by Martin Noble, they are really good. I can't say that they are easy to color for me, but I love steampunk theme, so I'm sure that one day I will return to it. For now I have this picture where I really tried hard to stay in steampunk color palette. Well, when I did it I was totally unexperienced in doing skin tone, especially for men, so maybe he looks a little bit dirty, but on the other side maybe they are mechanics, so they can be a little bit dirty. But the color palette I do love, and I think that girl, she is very lovely. I love her green eyes, especially with ginger hair. And it's such a fun to color all those decorations, hats, jewelry, various mechanical elements on their clothes. The second, I have this gentleman. I think that he is kind of inventor, and he has this magical weaponry probably. I tried to use this color accents on his glasses, on the bird, and on this strange weaponry. Again, I think that steampunk pictures, they have to be done in more limited color palette. Not all colors are suitable. But as I love to color things like metals or leather, I always love steampunk pictures. I love how I did those metal chairs. I think that they look really shiny, three-dimensional. So both pictures which I did here I love, and again maybe I need to include it into my to-do list. And if we started to talk about Martin Noble, I also have this old treasure. It's a very strange book, not because the book by itself is strange. It's strangeness with copyright or with being out of print. Similar to Sagar och Zagner, which we waited to be reprinted for many years, this collage art, it was popular. I know that demand was high, but 5 years ago it was already out of stock, and since that time this book considered as a very rare one. I don't know why they don't reprint it, because Martin Noble is still available, so you can talk about copyrights. And book was really great because we have these collages. They are fun to color, they are on different themes, you are never bored, and you can finish them in relatively short time. So perfect combo for coloring book. Even if I am not a huge fan of paper here, for pencils it's good, especially for polychromos. When I started to color here, I had only Derwent color softs, and still I managed to color here. But when I finally got polychromoses and when I tested them here, I realized that for me they are the best choice. But it was a moment when this book already was out of stock, so my advice of what to use here, it wasn't very helpful because people simply wasn't able to get this book, and it's a pity because it's beautiful. The only downside of this book is that maybe some details are really small, so I think that apart from pencils you can also use felt tip pens. But look at these beauties. I have here my lovely winter picture. When I colored it, I didn't have any other winter books, so I was really grateful that in one book you can find something for Easter, something for spring, something for winter, and for other themes. When I just started my coloring hobby, I participated in some color alongs for various themes, so it was really helpful that you can have one book and to find pictures for many color alongs for various themes. This one I did with color softs and with felt tip pens. Not my best work, but still, you know that I love bright pictures. This one is lovely. I love how Martin Noble depicts mermaids. Here I try to be more moderate in my color palette. That's another one. I do love this country, maybe Provence style. And yes, that's why I love this book. You color tiny element and it's already look like finished project. Then you can return tomorrow to do another element and you feel like you did another work. Not like you spent a couple of hours just shading huge background. No. Half of an hour, 1 hour, and you have almost completed element. And of course her talent for people, for depicting animals, it's great. Also compositions are really very nice. Here I tested various shades of Prismacolor pencils. French grey, cold grey, jade green together with grays. So it was kind of study for Prismacolor pencils when I just received the set. Here I played with my metal acrylic paints. Another one where I try to do something like wooden carved background. Well, it's not bad, but mostly I love this element. Another one, quite lovely. When I did it, I didn't have Posca pens, I didn't cover lines, but I still think that pictures are really lovely. And that was the page where I first discovered that I can use polychromos here on this butterfly, and I was really mesmerized how well they blend on this paper. Since this picture, if I color in this book, I use polychromos. This one is Prismacolor. I really appreciate pictures with good composition, so when I have book with good composition, for me it's half of the success. When I don't have to think how to fill in empty background, or when half of the page is busy and half of the page is empty, like in Maria Trolle books. So I really appreciate when artists do finished project and we need to think only about colors. And my final work here is this beauty with a bear, definitely inspired probably by Alphonse Mucha. Lovely. Well, yes, paper is a little bit strange, definitely not for watercolors. I simply don't love how they blend here, but for pencils it's good. And well, maybe one day, if coloring isn't dead, maybe they will reprint it. So I don't understand. Martin Noble still create book for Livre. Why they didn't reprint this beauty, I don't know. Well, and we are moving forward. My next book will be by Alena, and it's all about dancing. Here, Lenka books, they are usually printed on great paper. This one isn't an exclusion, so I really love paper. Here, let me show you what I finished here. And it's a light grayscale, exactly what I like. This one I did using acrylic gouache, which I purchased just in the same moment when I received this book, so I needed to use it somewhere. Maybe it's not the best choice, and maybe I was quite inexperienced when I applied it, so it's not perfectly put and blended on paper, but at least it created good contrast to those flowers. I was inspired by Great Gatsby book and movie, so that's where I got inspiration for her dress. I wanted to show that it has huge amount of sequins and beads, so it's shiny with this trim also made from beads and sequins. I added a little bit of golden paint. I don't know if I like it here, but I also added this fur on her boa. At least I think that it's in atmosphere of those years. So really, it was fun to do. Another one, of course, it's tango. Here I decided that for Magnolia and for the dancers the best background will be in dark color. I imagine that they have a romantic evening here. Here I am mostly proud how I did folds on the fabric, both on red, on men's clothes, on her skirt, and also on his black trousers. They don't look flat. At least I can see folds on the fabric, and it was probably my best accomplishment here. I also tried to add a little bit of very delicate light yellow reflections here on her shoulders, even on their hair and head, because I imagine that they are dancing above some evening lights, maybe street lanterns or something like this. On this picture I tested for the first time my set of Black Widow pencils for dark skin, and yes, color selection is really good, even if of course she doesn't have dark skin, but at least I tried their interesting colors like olive brown, even some greenish brown. So, set is really good, even if I would prefer them to be less dry and more soft, but still selection of color is good. Well, another one where background made with acrylic paint, it's, well, worst part of it. But I do love this color flowers and her shiny dress also with sequins. I think that maybe it's samba, maybe other Latin dance. And finally I have this French cabaret. Of course I wanted to add atmosphere of some fireworks, so I added them with metal paints. And here I was surprised that one of the really good choices for this paper were Kohinoor polycolors. They are usually too hard for coloring books, but on this paper they worked really well. Well, I think that it's all for this book. It's a really very sweet one, especially if you love dancing. Here I have When Dragon Dreams. It's by Anastasia Koldereва. I know that you recognize the book everywhere. Once it was one of my favorite books and I colored in it quite frequently. I do love paper here, and dragons is one of my favorite themes. When the war started, Anastasia was one of only two coloring book creators who openly said that she is against the war, so at least I have some respect for her. Well, now I don't have a desire to color in it, but I definitely don't intend to throw it away as I did with books by other Russians. So I think that maybe one day I will return to it because I have still very warm feelings towards this book and I love my works here. I love that I can do here a watercolor background like I did here, and then to work on main image either with markers or with pencils. I don't like to use markers because they mess up with these tiny images on the left. Sometimes I can use them, but I still prefer to combine watercolor with pencils. And this beauty is one of my favorites in the book because I love background. I used different shades of green, from more bluish green into yellow, apple green, regular green. I think that it's quite lovely. Water doesn't have to be blue on each picture. And I do love how I did those scales of two colors, golden with a little bit of blue reflection, and those blue violet with a little bit of golden reflection. I think that it really looks quite magical for a dragon. I also love that in this book we have a lot of cacti and succulent plants. I love them, they are quite interesting. I wish I had a balcony where I can grow cacti. I actually have balcony, but there is not enough sun for them. Well, here another one. Usually I combine various media here. I think that here I used Derwent color softs and Prismacolors. From time to time I can do even not over bright pictures. Here I try to do something more calm, maybe even more romantic. I really love Prismacolor shades here. It's peach, beige, light peach, nectar, lavender colors, and you know that Prismacolors you can blend everything together and pencils could create beautiful color combos. For the dragon I used a little bit of markers. When I colored this one I had very limited color palette of markers, but fortunately light gray and light pink colors I had, so they helped me to color the body. Here another one where I imagine that we have mother and a child. I tried to use some similar colors for their bodies. Maybe this yellow color baby inherited from the father. I didn't know what to do with the background, so I decided to use this light bouquet. Wasn't sure that it was a good idea, but now I think that it was lovely. It's watercolor or maybe even neo colors, so something water soluble, and then Prismacolors for their bodies. This one I did with markers for the succulent and then Prismacolor for dragon. It has this interesting holographic look, interesting color combo on the dragon. My favorite in the whole book is this sleeping dragon, and I think that this is one of the most interesting color combos here. Again, watercolor and pencils for dragon. I also have smaller works here like this. I think that it's the only small work which I have here. Yeah, unfortunately the only one. No, not the only one, because apart from this big shell dragon, it was my first project in the book. Again, I added a lot of metal paints. Mostly I do it when I in the same time have a new book and then new set of watercolors. I needed to use it here, and I decided that all those metal pink, metal green, they are perfect for body of dragon. Here, this one I did only with pencils, but it's still lovely. Small. I never know how to finish those backgrounds, but I think that it's okay as a small sketch. And here I tested some color combos. I wanted to do bigger project, but then something distracted me. And finally I have two beautiful creations by Tomislav Tomic, Villain's Son and then Zemlya Snova. That's the second. Zemlya Snova is the first one. I have both in Croatian edition, which means that they are unfortunately double-sided, but still they are beautiful. Works here, well, every time it's like resolving a puzzle, because they are very detailed, so to create a well-balanced color combo you need to think carefully. Sometimes I managed to achieve what I imagined, sometimes pictures weren't big success, and again it's a shame that I hadn't colored in this book during this year. That was probably my last project, which I did a couple of years ago, this beautiful dragon. Here I do love the dragon, how I managed to connect walls of the castle and scales of the dragon. The biggest problem was how to do the background. This spread I love, both pictures are quite lovely and they were surprisingly easy to color. For the right side I imagine that we have old autumn tree, but fortunately it encountered this wizard, tiny but quite powerful, and now we can see that wizard try to cast some spell and it already have result. So branches on the face of the old tree started to turn into spring. We have flowers instead of yellow leaves. So it was a moment of magic, which I tried to show by adding a little bit of yellow-green swirl around the tiny wizard. It was so small that I was totally afraid that it would be lost. And here on the left I simply tried to use something unusual for flowers and for the leaves, color combo which would be pleasant to look at and which would create good contrast to the reindeer, simply deer with golden antlers. Sometimes I use here Prismacolors, sometimes I use polychromos, mostly Prismacolors. Here it's not my favorite work. It was so crowded that it was extremely difficult to find colors for each of the characters. I would say that Mermaid is a little bit lost, maybe because of the color of her hair. Only when I added orange it started to look better, but I love how I did corals here. That's probably my favorite work in the book. I do love the hedgehog and how I did those bright mushrooms, yellow-green sky, so it's really lovely. I don't think that it's very comfortable to sit on the back of the hedgehog, but they look quite comfy, so why not? And it's another one where I spent a lot of time for it. It's mix of polychromos, mostly polychromos, but for fairies I used Prismacolors, where I had this beautiful gradient from electric blue into more lavender and pink colors. It's also, I think that is one of my best works in Tomislav Tomic books. In Zemlya Snova I have bigger amount of finished pictures. Let's move from the back again. It's easier for me to flip I have this spread which maybe 5 years ago I did for my birthday, because I was born in August, so I am a lion, and sometimes I love to color something with lions during August. Here I a little bit more love the left side. I even love this frame, how I did leaves, flowers. They are interesting, but they don't distract attention from the lion. Here, of course, everything was more complicated, bigger variety of plants, flowers, bigger variety of animals, but they are so lovely. And I do love this enchantress. That was my first project in the book. Well, now I would say that pictures are too colorful even for my taste. You know that I usually do very colorful pictures using the whole Prismacolor set, but sometimes I feel that even for myself it was too much. But some of the spreads are really lovely. I especially love this one, nice birds. It was fun to color the nest and eggs. I love my idea with one golden egg. And I do love the bird, mother bird. Well, here I tried to unite both pictures with this dark frame. My favorite element here is this black pearl and those rays of light coming from the shell. But picture on the left maybe is more pleasant. First I was thinking about a winter picture because we have reindeer, but then I looked at flowers and apples and I decided that no, it will be in pleasant summer colors. I do love how I did sky here. It's thanks to Prismacolor pencils. Oh my god, I remember how long it took me to finish this one. I was inspired by colors, by traditional medieval miniatures from the books, basic color combo of gold, cobalt blue, a vibrant ruby red. It always looked nice, and I use them as main colors for the whole spread. Of course, now I would mask those lines, but everything else is really lovely. And another huge spread where I was extremely proud of myself when I finished it. I do love rooster, and I remember how I practiced to do two colors of grapes. I especially love the green grapes with a little bit of a lilac shining into them. I know that maybe it's not visible on camera, but in real life both the basket and grape, they look three-dimensional, and I do love this. Wheels, I think that they look very shiny. This one, I can't say that I love color palette. My shameful unfinished project. I was waiting for neo colors. I hope that maybe when I get neo colors, it will be easier for me to finish this spread. It's waiting already for 5 years. Let me not comment this moment. Well, this one again, not my best work. It's too motley. Mostly I dislike those flowers which I did. Usually for me it's okay when I do background first, but then here it was a mistake. When I did those flowers, they were too contrast, too bright, and they messed up with my imaginary color of the wings. I was quite lucky to find one of the butterflies on pictures, somewhere from South America probably, and it gave me idea of this green and orange color. But I do love how I did shading on the body of the horse. I'm not very experienced how to color horses. Usually they look quite stupid on my pictures. Here it was okay. And my dragon. It was lovely but overwhelming with all those various flowers and plants and dragon hiding among the grass. I more enjoyed doing those arches. The dragon was the most complicated part, but the part which I love the most is my final touch when I selected this ultramarine and cobalt for the sky. It really helped to finish it nicely. And where is my favorite unicorn? Oh no, it's another shameful project which I hadn't finished. I don't know, something went wrong. I didn't like that red which I selected, so I abandoned it. Next I have this winter house of elves. Oh, not elves, but trolls. I really love this cute troll which we have here, and I wish that we have more similar characters here. But building on the tree, it's also very cute. I really love this architecture. And finally, my last finished picture here is this spread with unicorn, which I really love. I'm still surprised how I managed to color this spread and including the background with pencils. For me it also was an interesting experiment with all the leaves. They are in similar color palette but with small differences in intensity of color or color combos, and I think that those unusual leaves, they created nice frame to the unicorn. Here I'm also quite proud how I did this skin probably of the unicorn, because it's a little bit it's gray with a little bit of beige and even a little bit of gold to show shining from the horn and golden mane. So I think that it's delicate but nice shading. The most challenging part was to decide what to do with the fairy. When I added this light area, light halo around tiny fairy, everything started to look even more magical, so it's one of my favorite spreads here. Well, I'm glad that I looked back at my old works. Maybe it will inspire me to return to these books. I love Villain Sun a little bit more, maybe not because of the beauty of pictures, because in Zemlya's Nova I already saw so many finished projects that to start something myself it's difficult. I still have difficulty here with color planning, with doing picture where we don't have only motley group of images, but where we have focal point, nice contrast. For me it's still difficult, maybe because they are very detailed, but I love Tomislav Tomić style dearly, and I hope that maybe one day I will feel more confident to return to his books. I actually don't know why I was more courageous, more it was more easy to color in the beginning when I just got the books, but then when I started maybe to look at my works more critically or analyze my works, it started to be much more difficult to color in his books. I hope that one day I will resolve this mental block. Thank you for watching, and well, it was almost the last part of my video, of my series, because I have many books, but if I hadn't touched them during a couple of years, I decided that I won't include them in this video. Maybe I would better look at them myself, and if I color something in this abandoned book during the next year, then it will be something I can show you next year if I decide to make similar series. I will look at my untouched books, and I have plenty of them. I think that during the next year I need to do kind of marathon, maybe during 1 month, to try and to start as many untouched books as possible. When you already tested paper, tested the artist style, then it's much easier to do second and third picture. Well, thank you, and I will see you very soon in my next video.